It started with static, just the usual hissing and crackling, background noise from space, the kind you always hear between systems, empty, harmless, a quiet hum from the void. Then, something changed. Tech acolyte Arvala noticed it first. She didn't say anything right away, she didn't have to. She'd heard strange things before. Ghost signals, old transmissions bouncing through space, machine spirits glitching from corrupted code. But this was different. It wasn't the sound that got to her. It was the feeling. The signal came in faint, buried deep under normal channels, like a whisper under a storm. She isolated it, filtered the noise, ran it again and again until she was sure it was a voice. Old, weak, speaking in low Gothic. We are cold. We are alone. We remember being more. She played it again, then again. Each time, it changed. They're just ghost loops, grunted her overseer, slamming a data slate down. Ancient Vox trash. Space is full of, don't waste bandwidth. But Arvala pushed back. The call sign is valid, she said. I triple-checked it. It's from an Aegis-class ship, the Aegis Lament. The room went quiet. That name hadn't been heard in centuries. The ship vanished 312 years ago. Its last mission was a short warp jump between two quiet outposts, Delvin's Reach and Ulroth's Gate. Nothing dangerous, no warp storms, no distress calls. No wreckage was ever found. The whole crew, marked lost to the void. Until now. Zzz, please, can't feel the light. Not us anymore. The Inquisition was alerted. False signals were often bait. Chaos used them like hooks. The Mechanicus ran deep scans. The signal was real, too real. Even the astropaths refused to touch it. They said, when they tried to listen, they started dreaming of teeth in dark water. But by then, it was too late. Someone had already responded. They weren't called a rescue team. Too risky, too expensive. Officially, they were a recovery directive. Their job, trace the signal, confirm the ship, recover data cores, nothing more. They didn't expect survivors, just wreckage, old tech, maybe a few relics. But what they found was something else. We're nearing the last ping now. The ship's intact. No power, no readings, just floating in a patch of black. It's not even on the star charts anymore. The void won't touch it. Lights just flickered in the cockpit. That's not normal. We're getting ready to breach. They are locked on with magnetic clamps. The airlock hissed. The atmosphere tried to stabilize, but the Aegis Lament stayed cold. No response, no heat, no signs of life. And yet, the ship's hull was perfect. No damage, no battle scars, not even dust. Could be a Mechanicus trick, one Marine muttered. Trick or not, Varin said. We're going in. Inside, the corridor lights turned on, one by one. No power, but still, the lights came on, in sequence, leading them forward, like the ship was guiding them, like it was welcoming them. They passed through empty quarters, open lockers, half-eaten meals turned to dust, cups on tables, boots by the beds, as if their owners had just stepped out. No blood, no bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence. They found a working terminal near the central shaft. Its screen was dim. A single word glowed. Hello. One of the crew laughed nervously. Friendly ghosts, maybe. Then the Vox turned on. By itself. You are late. The voice was human, but wrong. Too many voices speaking together, out of sync, like a choir in a nightmare. Then came the humming, software slow, like a lullaby from childhood. Only none of them remembered learning it. Something's not right, Varin whispered. Too quiet, too clean. The men are nervous. Larin said he saw something in a broken panel reflection, said it looked like himself, but smiling. Heat signatures flickered behind sealed doors. Footsteps echoed above them. The Vox buzzed again, whispers buried in the static. Still here, still watching, not done. They placed motion sensors. Everyone kept going off. Always in the same spots, always just behind them. This is Theta 2 station. We acknowledge your mission. Do not respond to audio. Do not listen to the signal. Do not. Transmission ends. Then Varin reached the bridge and saw it. The command throne was occupied, not by a corpse, Not a servitor, a man in full uniform, breathing, eyes open, smiling. Varen froze. He knew the man, but it wasn't possible. It was his father, dead for 40 years. He had served on the young. The man's lips moved, but no breath came out. "We're not lost," he said. "We're becoming." They said it was a simple warp hop, 2 systems, no storms, no anomalies, but we never arrived, did we? Final confirmed log, Captain Volan Yaris, Aegis Lament ship report. Name, Aegis Lament. Type, Aegis class long-range surveyor, crew size, 1024. Mission, mapping remote star systems, stabilizing warp lanes, expanding communication relays. Last known location, Delvin's Reach. Destination, Ulroth's Gate. Status, missing, M41.814.43 time. Lost, 312 years. Notes, no distress call, no debris, presumed destroyed by warp interference. The door opened with a long groan. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded alive. Ensign Varen stepped inside. His flashlight shook in his hand. Behind him, Trooper Rez and Tech Savant Urix followed. Their Auspex scanners buzzed quietly. The bridge looked perfect, too perfect. Nothing was out of place. The Aquila still shined above the command altar. Status lights blinked calmly. Even the incense burners still let off faint smoke. After 300 years, no dust, no damage, no decay, just silence. And the command throne, empty. The man Varan saw, moments earlier, his father, was gone. No voice, no movement, nothing. He didn't tell the others. He couldn't. Commander's note, bridge secured. No hostiles, no visual anomalies. Inventory check underway. Atmosphere breathable. Partial gravity is functional. The power source is unknown. Vox systems are active. An automated beacon repeats a strange message. We're still real. Some crew feeling dizzy. One trooper reports seeing double in the dark. The team moved deeper into the ship. Aegis Lament, vessel of light, lost between stars, found in yourselves. That wasn't a standard transmission. The team tried tracing it. The speakers were on, but the transmission core was offline, completely cut from power. There was no way sound should be playing, and yet it was. "I ran diagnostics on the core," Urix said. "This ship isn't just functioning, it's aware." He didn't mean it like the Mechanicus did. He meant it literally. It adjusts the air when we enter a room. The lights dim or brighten, depending on how we feel. It reacts to our emotions. To fear, that's impossible. No machine can read fear, but this one can. This ship wants something. A second team explored the lower decks. Crew quarters, Medici Bay, archive storage. They found no bodies, no signs of fighting. What they found was worse. A nursery. It wasn't listed in the ship's layout. Surveyor ships never carried civilians. And yet, there it was. Tiny beds, soft lights painted with stars and moons. Old toys are shaped like servo skulls. All the beds were neatly made, all but one. That bed was soaked in dried blood. Above it, scratched deep into the metal wall, she never stopped crying. No child, no records, no mention of families on board. No one spoke. They just moved on. "I hear breathing," Varen recorded. "Behind walls, under the floor, like someone's hiding." I asked Rez if he heard it too. He said yes, but he wasn't afraid. He just said, "It's the ship. That's not how people talk. That's how servitors talk." Tech Savant Urix accessed the cogitator core. He expected broken data, errors, glitches. What he found instead was memory, too much memory. The ship had been logging everything, every second, for over 300 years. No power, no input, no command. Still recording. But not real logs. These were dreams, simulations. Entire conversations between dead crew members. Voices matched, biometrics confirmed. But those people had died centuries ago. One entry was dated only 3 days ago. It showed Ensign Varen having a conversation with his father. Why didn't you come sooner? We tried. You never called. We were always calling. You just forgot how to hear. What happened to the crew? They listened too long. To what? To us. A scout team found more signs of life. Boot prints, drag marks, blood. They followed the trail to a sealed door. The door opened by itself. Inside, just a mirror, plain, mounted on the wall. No lights, no labels. One trooper stepped up, looked into it, didn't scream, didn't move. He just stepped into the mirror and vanished. The door slammed shut. They tried everything. Tools, cutters, prayers. Nothing worked. The mirror was gone. There was never just one ship, never just one crew, never just you. Update. Team morale is failing. 2 missing, Trooper Hulst and Vox Tech Yora. Ship corridors shifting subtly. Crew report déjà vu. Some forget where they are. Memories breaking down. Team command requested extraction. Denied. New orders. Recover memory cores. At all costs. Varin returned to the bridge. Alone. The command throne was still empty. But now, his father's uniform lay folded across the seat, freshly pressed, no dust, no damage, and on the back, written in black ink, "You'll fit it soon." No stars, no dust, no gravity shifts, just black, endless, perfect. We thought it was deep void. We were wrong. It was deeper. A warp map error was confirmed. Between Delvan's Reach and Ulroth's Gate, something new had appeared. A region with no stars, no gravity, no radiation, no subspace signals, just black. They named it Zone X Null. It couldn't be navigated. It shouldn't have existed. But the signal from the Aegis Lament was coming from inside. No warp storms, no Xenos territory, no rift activity. Just silence. At first, the approach seemed normal. Then they crossed the boundary and the stars disappeared. Not some of them, all of them. Even the closest star systems are gone, as if someone erased the sky. The crew thought it was a glitch until the gravity sensors went dead. We floated in black, not void black, but wrong black, like we were inside something. The stars didn't vanish, they were taken. The engines groaned, not from stress, but like they were afraid. Every sensor flatlined, no mass readings, no particle traces, no radiation. But the void felt heavy, like swimming in thick tar, but without resistance. Cogitators froze, Auspex returned nothing. Even sacred Mechanicus hymns couldn't break the silence. Then they tried a Vox scan. They didn't even finish transmitting. A voice replied instantly in low Gothic, "You're already inside, don't try to leave. It remembers where you were." The voice had no tone, no gender, no emotion, but it wasn't digital, it wasn't filtered. It sounded close, as if someone whispered inside their helmets, and yet no record of the message existed. Only those who heard it knew. Then the Aegis Lament appeared. It wasn't there, and then it was, right in their path. No warp ripple, no subspace flare, no engine noise, just there, floating, perfectly preserved, lights flickering inside like it had only just powered down. Auspex showed no life, no heat, nothing, and yet they saw shapes in the windows, silhouettes, moving, no hull damage. The paint is still intact. Serial numbers matched records. But something was wrong with the void shielding. It was reversed. Built to keep something in, not out. Then they saw the airlocks, scorched handprints, small, child-sized, hundreds of them, burned from the inside out. They docked using a secondary airlock, seal confirmed. The boarding doors cycled once, twice, then opened, on their own. No welcome, no beacon, just faint static on the Vox. And the air, it shifted, not like a vacuum, more like pressure pulling back, like something was waiting. One by one, the team stepped through. As soon as I crossed in, I felt it. The gravity worked, the air was fine, lights flickered just enough to see. But it wasn't the light that got me, it was the feeling that I'd been here before. I've never served on this ship, never seen its layout, but I knew where things were. I knew the curve of the hallway. I knew where the mess hall would be. I think the ship knows me too. Time didn't behave right. Ship clocks kept resetting. Every 66 minutes, back to 0000. Gravity was stable, warm, too warm. The main doors unlocked, atmosphere breathable. but it smelled like ozone and mold. Then the crew found something chilling. The crew quarters had names, not of the old crew, but of them, the recovery team. One lock. We followed every procedure, sealed every lock, logged every step, and still, something walked in with us. The squad moved in tight formation. Varen led the way. Urix watched the Auspex. Rez and 2 others guarded the rear. Behind them, the airlock sealed shut. The sound made Varine pause. It didn't sound like machinery. It sounded personal, like a sigh, like a gate locking behind a prisoner. Mission logs confirmed. Vox link secured. Double encrypted. Sub-vocal comms. Synced Auspex. Mapping in progress. Route markers deployed every 10 meters. 1 hour return timer started, all protocols followed, but every time they moved forward, the markers they placed behind them disappeared. Auspex says we're still on deck 2. It's lying. I can feel the slope under my boots. We're going down. I tried tagging the doors with purity seals. They peeled off by themselves. 30 seconds after I placed them. The machine spirit's here. They're resisting. The first anomaly appeared in the mess hall. Everything looked untouched, tables lined up, food trays half full, lights flickering in odd patterns. But the food, still warm, fresh. One of the plates had a name carved into it. In dried blood. Rez. That's when the whispering started. They're saying my name, softly, over and over. Not loud, not angry, just gentle, like how my mother whispered to me when I was sick. Rez turned to speak, but his squad was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. He spun around, gun raised, calling into the Vox. Only static. He ran back into the hallway, but there was no door, no mess hall, just blank steel, smooth, solid. He was alone. Meanwhile, Varen and the others were in a parallel corridor. At least it should have been. But every time they moved forward, the section numbers stayed the same. Section 9A, again and again and again. They burned a mark into the wall, walked 10 meters, it was still there. 20 meters, still there. Then Urix whispered, "The lights, they're not reflecting right." They looked up, shadows flickered in the wrong direction. The air rippled, not from heat, but like water stirred by thought. Something was there. One Auspex scan pinged, humanoid life form, 0.4 meters behind Varen. He spun, nothing there, but he felt it. Something brushed past him. It wasn't fair. It was skin, warm, wet. Urix dropped to his knees. He vomited into his mask. His Auspex screen lit up, a dozen signals, all of them, themselves, copies of their biosigns, flickering in and out of range at impossible speeds. Rez found a strange door, no Imperial symbols, no Mechanicus seals, just a spiral carved deep. He touched it. The door opened. Inside, a child's bedroom. Rez froze. It was his room. From when he was 7, every detail was perfect, even the burn mark, where he melted his first last pistol. His breathing slowed. Then he saw it, himself, sleeping on the bed. He turned and ran. Behind him, the hallway laughed. The team activated an emergency beacon. It worked for a moment. Then the signal warped. A message played. "You're already here. Why do you keep coming back?" Then the beacon melted. No fire, no acid, no explosion. It simply ceased to exist. Team 2 tried to break into engineering. Their final message. "There are people down here, but they're us. They're older. They remember things we haven't done yet. One of them had my scar, the one I haven't gotten yet." Then, nothing. Varen finally reached Rez over Vox. Rez was screaming, but not from pain. He was repeating the same words over and over. "I didn't mean to stay. I didn't mean to stay. I didn't mean to stay." Varen tracked the signal. Rez was inside the room, the same room where they had found the folded uniform. Now there were 2, and one was gone. "I don't think this is a ship anymore. It might have been once, but now it's a shape, a memory of what a ship used to be. And we didn't breach it. It breached us." They didn't leave messages. They left memories, logs that recorded themselves, even when no one was alive to speak them. Tech savant Urix, corrupted Vox entry, The ship's internal clock reset for the third time in 1 hour. Every terminal screen flickered. The time code rolled back to 0. No power loss, no glitch, no error log. The system simply decided time had started again. Urix stared at the flashing numbers. They pulsed like a heartbeat. Varin didn't even flinch. He was too tired, too confused, too hollow to care anymore. Rez was gone. They tried tracing his signal, but every hallway changed direction. Walls moved just enough to make their maps useless. They were still on deck 2, probably, maybe inside it. Then Urix found a sealed panel marked Vox Archives. No power lines, no data cable, no reason it should work. But when he stepped close, it lit up. The screen blinked softly, and then the words appeared. "Welcome back, Tech Savant Urix." He froze. He had never been on this ship before. He typed a command. "Log review. Most recent." The terminal responded. 1,047 entries, all logged in the last 72 hours. The first one read, "It followed me into the walls. I closed my eyes to forget, but it is remembered for me. I saw my father again, not the real one, the one from my nightmares. He asked if I missed being alone. I said no. He smiled and said, 'You will.' End." Urix felt cold. The logs weren't audio. They weren't even text entries. They were thoughts, his thoughts, private fears, memories, moments that hadn't happened yet, being recorded before they occurred. He tried deleting them. The terminal blinked, then added 2 more. "I miss being afraid of normal things. Power loss, reactor failure, warp ghosts. Now I'm afraid of thinking, because this ship listens. And when it listens, it remembers." The team moved through the next hallway. The lights along the wall started showing faces, distorted, blurry, glitched like oil swirling on rusted steel. Some looked familiar, others didn't. Varin looked at a wall panel. He saw his own face reflected there. It was smiling. He wasn't. A nearby Vox terminal turned on. This time, a voice, not text, not logs. A soft, female voice, calm, gentle, but not human. "You're a beautiful copy, don't waste it." No name, no source, no one in the room. Then, laughter, childlike, drifting up from the pipes. Trooper Dren raised his rifle to destroy the terminal. The rifle jammed, the safety was missing. He didn't remove it. Trooper Kalis later said he dreamed of caves filled with mirrors. He said he woke up hours later, but he had never gone to sleep. Varin refused to sit. "The chairs remember too much," he whispered. Urix dug deeper into the console. He found a hidden folder, VOX-SHADOW, thousands of recorded speech files. Most were nonsense, some weren't. One entry stood out. "We were not infected by the warp. We were infected by remembering. The ship wants us to relive it. Not just our lives, everyone's." Varin knelt beside a shattered Vox console. His hands shook. He whispered, "There were never logs. These aren't records. They're scripts. We're not here to recover data. We're acting out a role." He looked up. Trooper Callis stood nearby, but something was wrong. Same uniform, same scars, but his eyes, they were made of glass. Urix tried to send a distress call back to the merciful light. Instead, the ship played his own voice back to him. "There is no rescue. There never was. You sent us here, and now we're sending you. They called us echoes, but we were never echoes. We were blueprints, and now something else is building from us." The ship wasn't empty. It never was. We were just too blind to see what was already here, what had been watching us since we arrived, maybe even before. Time didn't move. No matter how far they walked, minutes didn't pass, seconds didn't tick. The ship's clock just kept resetting again and again, like a broken machine, rewinding the same breath over and over. Urix called it temporal hiccuping. Varin called it something worse. The ship isn't stuck in time. It's holding time, like lungs holding a breath, and we're trapped inside it. Varin and Urix found an observation blister. A reinforced glass window looks out into space. Normally, survey crews used it to watch stars, to study movement. But now, there were no stars. no motion, just a smooth ocean of black. And then, something moved. A shadow passed across the hull. There are no lights outside, no running signals, but I saw something crawl across the ship's outer skin. It didn't float. It crawled. It looked human, but its joints bent the wrong way. Another team, split off hours earlier, radioed in from engineering. They'd found signs of forced entry from inside the ship. Metal walls buckled outward, gouges scratched into steel, 4 deep marks. Like fingers, they sealed themselves in the reactor housing. 15 minutes later, they stopped responding. Their final message: something's on the hull. It's watching us through the glass. And now, it's inside. One of the external cameras came online. It shouldn't have. Its power was cut, but it lit up. The feed flickered into life on a cracked monitor in the observation room. First, just the black void. Still, empty. Then, movement. A shape, long, thin, grey. It skittered past the camera's view. No suit, no propulsion, no eyes. But it turned toward the camera and smiled. Its lips were stitched shut. The smile wasn't real. It was cut into its face. Urix leaned close to the camera's speaker. "Do you hear that?" he asked. "No," said Varin. "What?" "Listen closer." Varin did, and realized it wasn't a shadow. It was whispering. The sound wasn't outside. It was coming from inside the walls, from inside the metal. Voices layered together, hundreds of them, some begging, some praying, some laughing, and one voice, clear and familiar, Varin's own voice. "We're still in the void. We never left the jump. This is where the Emperor doesn't look. When I look at the hull, I don't see steel anymore. I see skin, stretched, pressed, breathing. The shadow we saw, it wasn't walking on the hull. It was walking through it. And when it looked at us, it didn't see prey. It saw something that didn't belong. High above, outside the null zone, the merciful light tried to hold the position. But the crew began reporting strange effects. Star fields looked wrong. Reflections didn't match reality. Shadows crawled along the outside of their own hull. One officer looked through the porthole. He screamed. He said, "The void has faces." They tried to withdraw. The engines fired, but they didn't move. Navigation servitors reported, "We've already left." But the crew was still aboard, still trapped. Back on the Aegis Lament, Varin stood in the observation room, staring into the black. And then a light appeared, just one, then two, then hundreds, tiny star-like glows. But they weren't stars, they were eyes, watching. The glass began to bend outward. Something was pressing against it from outside. A face, but not human, too tall, too wide, twisted in 4 directions. The window held, but Varin fell to the floor. He heard the voices again, louder now, and saw something in his mind, not his eyes. A memory that wasn't his. A man stood at this same window, Captain Volin Yaris. Stars shone behind him. Then, one by one, they went out, and a voice came through the vox. "Don't blink. We're only real if you see us." Varin sat up. The window was normal again, the lights were gone. But across the room stood a man, not Urix, someone else, wearing a tattered Imperial officer's uniform. No face, just smooth skin, no mouth, no eyes, just a name tag, Varin K. Varin raised his weapon. The figure tilted its head, then it copied him, perfectly. Every move, every breath, every blink. Then it leaned forward and whispered, without a mouth, "Don't pretend you didn't know," and vanished. The hull isn't just a surface, it's a memory lattice. Every touch is stored, every moment replayed. The ship is building something now, from us. The squad regrouped at the nearest airlock. They tried to cycle the hatch. Nothing opened. Instead, the ship played back their own voices, a message they never recorded. "We're safe now. We'll never leave. We are home." The hatch was locked from the outside. Varin sat back down in the observation room, staring into the black again, and whispered, "Stars don't vanish. They blink. They blink when something passes in front of them." Then he stopped, because now something blinked back. We found their boots, their uniforms. The beds are still warm, but no people, not even bones. 1,000 souls, and not a single scream left behind. Recovery directive. Omega 9, Deck 3. Field report. No one talked anymore, not unless they had to. Something had changed in the air. Sound didn't travel right. Voices echoed too slowly, or too far, or not at all. Words felt heavy, as if every sentence fed something unseen, something that was listening. Varin checked his data slate. Deck 3, crew habitation. This was supposed to be the heart of the ship, where the 1,000 crew members had lived, slept, and prayed. But walking through it now felt like walking through a memory of a graveyard. Entry logs confirmed. Hatch unlocked on approach, pressure seals intact, temperature normal, lights responsive to motion. The strange thing, it was all clean. No dust, no rot, no blood, no damage. Every bunk was perfectly made. Every locker is sealed. Boots lined up neatly, side by side. Even the pillows still held the shapes of heads, but there were no heads, no bodies, no bones, just absence. It's like they stood up and left mid-shift, but where are the footprints? Why is there still body heat in the sheets? They didn't die, they didn't run, they were removed, not killed, not erased, just lifted. Like puzzle pieces that were never meant to be here in the first place. Varin passed a bunk. The nameplate read, Ensign D. Tylin, his mother's name. He paused, swallowed hard, said nothing, and kept walking. Urix led a team into the Medicae bay, looking for death records, logs, anything. Instead, they found prescription slips, dozens of them, issued to names from the old crew manifest, and to names not on any record, including theirs. Varin pulled one out. It read, Varin, K, audio hallucinations, insomnia, identity, dissociation, date issued, 4 days ago, 4 days. But the ship had been missing for 3 centuries. 4 days from what? I saw something on the walls. Not dirt, not rust, skin. It stretched down the corridor, like it was trying to grow back what used to be here. One of the lockers opened, by itself. Inside, a folded uniform. His name was stitched in the collar, worn in the same places he usually fidgeted, torn where he scraped it coming off the lander, but he was still wearing his own. They regrouped in the crew mess, looking for food, for rest. The mess hall looked normal. Long tables, ration dispensers, stacked utensils. Steam rose from a kettle. It shouldn't have worked. The smell of grok stew filled the air. Trooper Dren said, "My mother used to make that." Varin stepped up to one table. Several plates were already set. Each plate had a name carved into the rim. Every name matched someone from the boarding team. Then the whispers returned. Not through Vox, through the walls. Breathe behind plaster. Voices inside steel. Sit down. You're tired. This is yours. You made it. Eat. Dren leaned toward the plate, shaking. Varin grabbed his arm. Don't. The stew blinked, just for a second. One eye opened in the middle of the broth. Then, it was gone. They moved into a dormitory cluster. Bunks lined up, neat, clean, still warm. Pictures on the walls. Crew members, family portraits. Varin froze. One of the photos showed him, smiling, younger, wearing uniform. Arm around a woman he didn't know. The caption read, "Last day before we left Ulroth's Gate." But Varin had never been to Ulroth's Gate, had he? Trooper Elson shouted for help. They found him staring up at the ceiling. It was moving, not swaying, not shifting, breathing. The metal rose and fell. Each breath pushed dust from the vents. The rhythm didn't match the engines. It matched a heartbeat, and each beat sounded like footsteps running down a hallway that no longer existed. Urix played corrupted surveillance footage. A hallway, empty at first, then shapes, blurry, humanoid, in uniform, familiar. They walked from bed to bed, laid down, and vanished. Not warped, not faded, just gone. Like time forgot them. Back in the mess, Dren collapsed on his knees, repeating, I was here, I remember leaving, I remember coming back. Why do I remember things I didn't do?" He bled from the nose. His voice changed, higher, older, then not human at all. Urix sedated him, 5 injections. Each one disappeared into his skin like they were never there. Varin tried one last thing. He recorded a hard-coded distress beacon, sent it from the deck's Vox node. The message played back automatically, but the voice that spoke wasn't his. "This is Ensign Cole Varin. I'm sorry we brought you here. You need to forget us. We were never crew. We were never real. I don't think the ship just took the crew. I think it used them to build new things, new shapes, new people, new roles. And now it's checking if we fit." They left the crew quarters, lights dimmed behind them, one by one. Each bunk they passed, flattened, not crumpled, compressed, like something above had pressed down on them. The last light flickered over a phrase, scratched deep into the wall, long hidden under the grime. It read, "We screamed, but the ship didn't need sound, it only needed silence. The logs we didn't make, the entries we didn't write. Someone or something is keeping a record, and it knows what we'll say before we say it." Ensign Varin, black box transcription. The lights above Varin buzzed, but not normally. They flickered in a strange rhythm, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. Deck 1. Bridge access was still sealed, but the door wasn't the real problem. The logs were. The ship was still recording, still logging events, but these weren't just recordings. They were pre-recorded. In a communications substation, Urix found a sealed data port. He expected junk, corrupted memory, broken Vox files, and degraded systems. Instead, he found a full live mission archive, and every boarding team member had a file. His own file said, "Tech, Savant, Urix. Status, breathing faster, sweating, thinking about mother, trying not to cry, heart rate, 113 beats per minute, logging thought, I want to go home." Then, typed beneath it before he even spoke, "I want to go home." Urix stepped back, like the screen had punched him. The logs were recording thoughts before they were even spoken. Varin and Trooper Laren entered a surveillance room. Dust covered the old control panels, but only some of them. Others were clean, used, active. One screen showed the hallway outside, them standing there, but it wasn't live. It was the future, 10 minutes ahead. Varin stepped to the side. The screen showed him moving before he actually did. Then it showed him turning to the door, opening it, and saying, "Who's recording this?" Varin froze, then whispered the words out loud, perfectly matched. The screen flickered. "Entry complete." Urix dug deeper. He found logs written in a different style. No timestamps, no titles, just pages and pages of thoughts. Some were nonsense, some prophetic, some intimate. Then they started repeating. "Don't look behind you. It knows you're reading this. You haven't written this yet, but you will. You already died here once." One line stood out. "This isn't your first arrival. This is your 23rd. You always ask the same question. Who's recording this?" They tried a live Vox broadcast to the merciful light. It failed. Instead, their own words came back, but warped, distorted, spoken through someone else's mouth. Then Rez's voice came through. He was missing, but the message was clear. "Varin, stop. It hears you. Stop asking questions. It doesn't want you to remember." The signal ended with 6 voices, all layered, repeating, "You are being recorded." Lauren froze in the hall. He dropped his laser gun. His mouth hung open, eyes wide. Then he whispered, "I can hear myself thinking. But not now. It's like I'm remembering thoughts I haven't had yet." Urix ran a scan. No psychic activity, but the Vox system showed a file. Laren, log number 054. When he breaks inside it, "I can hear myself thinking, but not now. It's like I'm remembering thoughts I haven't had yet." Word for word, logged 18 minutes before he spoke. Lauren screamed, then ran into the dark. The team tracked a faint signal to a hidden room, tucked behind the main cogitator stack. Inside, no doors, no vents, no lights, no systems, just Rows of Vox units, dozens of them, each one glowing red, each one is recording. Urix approached the first. Its label, Varin, arrival log 11, it played. This is Ensign Cole Varin. We've docked with the Aegis Lament. Crew status green. Initial scans clear. Proceeding with breach protocol. Urix turned. Varin, you didn't make that log, right? Varin nodded slowly. That's from today. Urix shook his head. It's dated. 99 years ago. Varin went cold. I wasn't even born. Then another log was activated. Varin, termination, log 11. It played. This is Ensign Cole Varin. Don't come. Don't send another team. We didn't survive the first cycle. We won't survive the next. We are not crew. We are characters. The ship isn't just recording us. It's looping us. Running versions, simulations. Not for survival, maybe not even for study. It might be for entertainment, or for something worse. And every time, the recordings get cleaner, sharper, more perfect, too perfect, more perfect than real life. Varin walked down the row of units. His hand brushed against one. It lit up. Varin, exit log 11. Status, never recorded, it was empty. No voice, no file, because Varin had never left. Urix tried to pull the logs from the stack. Then the room changed. The walls began to pulse. The floor warped upward, bending like flesh. The recorders began to scream, not from speakers, not from feedback. They screamed, voices, hundreds of them, in pain, in anger, and one clear above all, stop asking. They ran. The log room collapsed behind them. Lauren was gone again. Trooper Elson dropped in the hallway. Blood poured from his ears, holding his head, sobbing. I'm still alive in there. In one of the recordings, I'm still there, still screaming. Back at the sealed bridge access, Varin found a side panel. Inside, just one file. Titled, Lost Between the Stars, First Entry. He pressed play. This is Ensign Cole Varin. If you're hearing this, you're part of the next loop. It watches through the logs. It rewrites from them. Ask yourself, who's recording this? Pause. You are. The ship doesn't just remember. It doesn't just copy. It makes you the one who writes the script. We're not being watched. We're being written. It started with a flicker, one light, then another. Not random. They went out in order, following us. The Aegis Lament had gone silent. No engines, no air systems, no echo. Even the faint hum of emergency lighting was gone. Then, the lights started to fail. Varin saw the first one blink behind them, then the one before it, then another. Lights were going out. In sequence, like dominoes, like a countdown. Urix checked his ore specs. No system errors, no power spikes. These weren't malfunctions. The lights were being turned off. It's following us, Varin whispered. Not with footsteps, with darkness. It's herding us. He turned his torch behind them. No movement, but the darkness felt alive, like it knew they were afraid. Urix pulled up the deck map. The layout shifted, rooms overlapping, corridors looping. The ship is moving us, he said, not the other way around. Each bulkhead they passed dimmed behind them, and with each one, Varin felt a presence. Not approaching, arriving. Elson began muttering. I've done this before, the pipe above us, it bursts. A moment later, it did. He just smiled. Told you. They found a log console, still warm. It auto-played. Ensign Varin. Final route confirmed. Corridor Delta 4. Lights will assist. Timestamp. 5 minutes in the future. They followed the only lit path. Every other corridor shut down behind them. This isn't a haunted ship, Varin Sam. It's a puppet show, and we're the strings. Static crackled over the vox. A voice spoke. Please continue. The sequence must finish. No deviation, only performance. Then, applause. At junction 6, Elson froze. It's there, watching. Every time a light dies, it gets closer. His comm lit up. Elson, deletion, initiated before they could react. He collapsed, inward, no scream, no blood, just boots, left neatly on the floor. Urix's slate beeped. Elson, removal, successful. He hadn't typed it. Light isn't just visibility, Urix whispered. It's a timer. When it goes out, that part of us is rewritten. They reached a final door. The last light behind them flickered. Varin looked back. Keep moving, or be forgotten. The screen on the door glowed. End of Act 1. Ready for transition. Yes. No. Varin reached for his weapon. Gone. Urix checked his tool. Gone, too. Then the Vox spoke, in both their voices. You don't need props, just obedience. What if we choose neither? Urix asked. Varin nodded slowly. Then maybe we stop being part of the story. The light behind them went out. Darkness rushed in. The screen selected on its own. Yes. The door opened. Inside, a small stage, one chair, and someone already sitting in it, wearing Varin's uniform, smiling, waiting. He called me by a name I didn't recognize, but when I answered, I knew it was mine. I just didn't know when I'd been given it. The door closed behind them. No lock, no noise. It just stopped existing. One moment they were in a corridor, the next somewhere else. No walls, no pipes, just smooth black curves, like the inside of a shell. Dim light pulsed above them, slow, like a dying heartbeat. I don't think this is the ship anymore, Urix whispered. Varin didn't answer. He was staring at the man in the chair, wearing his uniform, smiling. Their gear still worked, but nothing showed up. No readings, no heart rate, no pressure, just blank screens, except one. Varin's auspex displayed identity displacement. The man stood, same height, same scars, same chest plate smudge, only his eyes were wrong, too calm. He spoke, Varin's voice, but older, like it had echoed too many times. You're Cole Varin, right? Varin hesitated. Yes. The man smiled. Funny. That's what I said. Urix stepped forward. Who are you? I'm you, or I was, or I will be. Depends on the draft. You've asked it, haven't you? Who's recording this? Maybe it's us. He wasn't a clone, not a ghost. He was a version, a possibility, a Varin who said yes to the wrong name too many times. Then another figure stepped through the wall, a woman, wearing Urix's robes, carrying his tools. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Don't worry, Rennick, she said. That's not my name, Urix replied. Of course it is, you told me so. Urix checked his slate. ID, Tech Savant, Rennick Harval clearance, null access, lost. The walls flickered, names appeared slightly wrong. Varin, Cole Harvin, UX Resnick, Else Calra, Dren. Every time they tried to fix it, the names changed again, like the ship was playing a game. Say it enough, and it becomes true. The older Varin spoke again. I answered the wrong name once. That's all it took. Your name, it's not your name, it's your role. He was the engineer last time too, until he said his name was Lars. Now he screams in the engines. The ship's Vox came alive. Names, grant, shape. Shape grants presence. Unconfirmed identities will be overwritten. Typing sounds echoed. From nowhere, new logs being written. The ship doesn't delete you, it edits you. Varin stood still. Urix whispered, What's your name? Varin took too long to answer. Varin, he said at last. It didn't feel right. His slate responded, user not recognized. Confirm name. He typed it in. Entry rejected. The man in the chair stepped forward. Ready to join us? He walked into Varin. No sound, no pain, just a shimmer, two people becoming one. Varin staggered back, then straightened. His eyes were distant, calm. I remember so many names. He's not Varin. Not just. He's all the versions, and none of them. He turned to Urix. You should choose one, before the ship chooses for you. Then he smiled. The wall lit up. Identity consolidation, complete next subject. Renak. Urix didn't answer, but the name echoed in his head, like a memory he hadn't lived. I checked the log archive, 51 entries, all are tagged under my name, all are tagged as false. Then I found log 52 and it said I never left. Tech Savant Urix, sealed cogitator fragment. The lights never came back on, the walls stayed black, the name stayed wrong. But the ship come here, Pampa knew, Main Kainchungkum. For the first time in what felt like hours, days, cycles, there was no voice in the Vox. No footsteps behind them, no whispers in the steel. Urix, Rennick, according to the logs, stood beside what remained of Varen. They had walked away from the stage room or been let go. Neither of them asked why. Now they stood before a sealed cogitator terminal, heavy, ancient, almost shrine-like in its design. It bore no lights, no welcoming glow, but the moment Urix touched it, it came alive. Welcome, Tech Savant Rennick. Query, personal data. You have 52 log entries, status 51 entries, redacted, invalidated, contradictory entry 52, confirmed, open. He hesitated. The number wasn't random. It was more than he'd ever made, more than he should have made. He'd only logged 17 personal entries since boarding the Aegis Lament. But the ship had 52, and only the last was real. The screen flickered. Then it filled with lines of scrolling binary, then words, then his face, a recording, flickering, degraded. But it was him. He looked older, greyer, eyes sunken with exhaustion, but it was unmistakable. This is Tech Savant Urix, or what's left of him. If you're watching this, you've found log 52. That means the others didn't hold. They never do. You're not on the Aegis Lament. You are the Aegis Lament. Urix staggered back. Something broke in his skull. Not pain, but a rupture of memory. A flood of moments he never lived. Waking up in the engine room during a power loop. Screaming as the warp lights folded inward. Walking the same corridor 17 times. Always finding different corpses of the same man. Whispers in his own voice, saying, "Stop logging. You're already home. We came here on a salvage run." But the ship, it doesn't drift in space. It drifts in rolls. It replays you, rebuilds you, breaks you. You're not investigating the ship. You're part of its last performance. Every log before this was a lie, even the ones I thought were mine. The ship keeps a perfect record of failure. Only this log ends clean. The cogitator vibrated. Urix tried to shut it down. It refused. Instead, it began overwriting his slate, burning new protocols into the data port. His own files were erased, replaced by phrases. Cycle complete. Role fulfilled. Log 52 authenticated. Returning character to reset. Varen, or whatever was wearing his name now, stepped forward. "Congratulations, you made it to your final scene." Urix looked at him, eyes narrowing. "What happens now?" Varen smiled. "You finish writing, and then you become part of the log." The chamber began to change. Walls receded. Floor rippled. The cogitator became a pulpit. The lights above dimmed to near darkness. And Urix saw an audience. Rows of shadowed figures, unmoving, unblinking. Some wore uniforms. Others are copies of his own face. One by one, their hands raised. Each holding a slate, each slate blinking. Log 52, live playback confirmed. I don't know how many times I've said this. I don't know if I've ever said it. But if you're listening, if anyone's listening, you were never supposed to come here. This ship doesn't need rescue, it needs a cast. And you're already on stage. As he finishes speaking, the terminal blinks one last message. "Thank you for your performance, Rennick. Please wait for your next script." The lights go out. The terminal dies, and only Varen remains, watching, waiting, smiling. It wasn't just a voice, it was a memory shaped like a song. And when I followed it, I realized it remembered me more than I remembered myself. Audio fragment, source unknown, silence had returned. Not the absence of sound, but the waiting kind. The kind that hung like fog after a scream. Urix was gone now, or Rennick, or whatever he had become. Varen walked alone, if it could be called walking. The ship no longer had corridors, not in the conventional sense. He moved through places that felt like deck, but there were no signs, no doors, no bulkheads, just walls that bent too gently, floors that pulsed faintly underfoot. And then he heard it, a song, simple, software, a lullaby. It echoed faintly, barely a whisper, through the vents, above and below. No instruments, no vox distortion, just a human voice, female, warm, singing in low Gothic. A tune no one taught him, but one he remembered, from somewhere else, from before. It's in my head, but not inside my head. It's like it's outside, reaching in. And I know that song, but I've never heard it before. He paused. That makes sense here, doesn't it? The walls ahead opened into a new chamber circular, ringed with ancient cogitators and medical beds. A voice called gently from beyond the curve of the room. Cole. Varyn froze. That wasn't a hallucination. That was his mother's voice, dead for 15 years. The ship had moved beyond mimicry. It was now using memories as weapons, not illusions. Songs, voices, comfort. It didn't scream to scare. It sang to lure. It always sings the same tune. You don't remember the words, but the notes feel right. You start humming along. You start walking. You don't even realize your feet are moving. You don't hear it clearly until you're alone. And once you hear it, you don't want to leave. Varyn entered the chamber. At its center sat a woman in a long white uniform, bare feet swaying off the side of an operating table. She looked exactly like his mother, but younger, unlined, eyes too bright, smile too still. She sang, lips barely moving, and when she saw him, she beamed. "Welcome back, baby." His hands trembled. "You're not real." She blinked slowly. Real is what stays in your head long after it should have left. She offered her hand. "We kept this place warm for you." He turned away, started walking. The voice followed, not loudly, just closer, inside his helmet's vox pickup, inside his skull. It was no longer just singing, it was narrating. He's walking now, he's trembling, he's doubting. He's remembering too much. He started running. The song echoed louder with every step. Walls vibrated in time with the melody. Floor tiles cracked in rhythm. Ceiling lights dimmed to the beat. Then he heard footsteps behind him, syncopated with the song. Someone else was humming. Not the woman, himself, but not from his mouth, from somewhere ahead. He turned a corner and there he was, himself, standing still, eyes closed, humming, the same tune, wearing his uniform covered in dust, slates hanging from his belt, slates with dozens of names scratched into them. All wrong, all close, and all his. The figure opened its eyes and said, "You followed it. You always follow it. You never listen." Varyn raised his last pistol. The figure didn't flinch. "You shot me once too, didn't work then either." He lowered the weapon. "What is it?" The other him smiled. "A reminder. The song's just a hook. The chorus is the trap. And the ending, that's where it writes you back in." The song reached its peak, a perfect ascending hum, and the chamber collapsed inward, walls folding like paper. Beds collapsing, light flickering in musical cadence. The singer dissolved into dust mid-verse, her face the last to go. The future self stepped backward into a shadow. Gone, and Varyn fell to his knees. The sound ceased, but the tune remained in his breath. He spoke into the vox, though no one answered. "Don't follow the singing. If you hear it, it already knows your name." And deep in the walls, someone sang again. Softer this time, but closer. The song had ended, but something was still following. Varyn moved slower now. He no longer ran. They no longer called for anyone on Vox. Everyone who'd heard him was gone, absorbed, echoed, rewritten. He walked with his weapon drawn, knowing it would do nothing. He wasn't sure if the ship had corridors anymore, or if he was just walking through its memory. He turned a corner and stopped, because Trooper Dren was standing there. Dren looked unchanged, helmet off, skin pale, but intact, uniform ragged, eyes wide, but he didn't blink and he wasn't breathing, yet he smiled when he saw Varyn. "There you are." His voice was right, the tone, the inflection, but it arrived wrong, delayed, like it had been decided, not spoken. Varyn checked Oryx's slate. It still displayed nearby life signatures, but the signature tagged Dren had an error code. Biometric envelope, present internal data, unknown stability, falsified. He whispered to himself, "The skin isn't right." Varyn aimed his torch at Dren. The light passed over the body and the skin shimmered, not visibly, not dramatically, just a ripple, like something moved beneath it, like the surface of a pond. when disturbed. Dren cocked his head. "Why are you afraid of me?" Varin raised his last pistol. "Because you're not him." Dren stepped forward, and the skin around his mouth slid, too slow, too deliberate, like it was waiting for instructions. Against every instinct, Varin reached forward, touched the arm. It was warm, and it flexed in response, like the ship was watching through it. He tugged at a loose flap in the fabric. It came away, not just clothes. Skin. It peeled like wet paper. Underneath, nothing. Just glossy black meat. Smooth, cold, smiling without a face. Dren didn't scream, he just said, "Now you've seen what we're made of." The room changed. Suddenly, Varin was watching Drain again in a barracks. Training exercises, laughter, cards on a table, static on the Vox. Dren got up, walked into a dark hallway. A woman's voice called after him. He turned, smiled. Then everything froze and rewound, played again. Each time slower, each time more wrong, until Dren's face was upside down, his mouth opened sideways. His words were, "This memory isn't yours, but it fits, doesn't it?" Varin backed away. The Dren skin crumbled, not exploded, not melted, collapsed. The body shrank like a balloon losing air, crumpling inward until all that remained was a folded sheet of pale, empty dermis, letters etched across it, version 14 incomplete. Varin whispered, "They're testing forms." A new voice crackled through the hull, feminine, emotionless. Dren model failed, commencing next build, load, Colvaren, emotional set D. Varin's legs locked. "They're using me as the template." The floor became reflective, not polished, organic. Every surface showed a reflection of Varin, but each reflection was different. Some older, some female, some laughing, some crying blood. He walked past each one. They turned to watch him go. He reached a door. It had his name on it, but not his name. Veric. Inside, photos of people he didn't know. A child's drawing pinned to a wall, a name written in red crayon, Daddy. But the child's face was his. The Vox screamed again, this time every voice Varin had ever known. "You're almost done. One more try. This time you'll fit. Don't break again. Your skin will hold." Varin dropped the slate, dropped the pistol, and whispered, "You don't want to wear me, you want me to wear you." He looked into the last reflection, it smiled and spoke. "I'm ready to be you now." The lights flickered, the wall melted, and Varin stepped forward. Turned down into someone else's skin. I don't remember what I did, but the ship does, and it keeps showing me things that never happened, except they feel like they did. I don't know what's real anymore. I think that's the point. Ensign Varin, corrupted voice log, he was walking. That much Varin knew. The rest, direction, purpose, origin, had dissolved. The walls no longer shimmered. They whispered, not in words, but in moments, flashbacks, memories, slices of lives. His, maybe. He passed a section of the corridor and caught the scent of his childhood. Promethium, oil, and incense from his father's workshop. He turned and saw a door. It had no handle, but it opened anyway. Inside, a memory waiting to be lived again. He stepped through the threshold into a vast open field. Daylight, real air, grass under his boots, cadet training, a time he hadn't thought about in years. He saw himself in uniform, standing straight, laughing. He remembered this day, the field drill where he failed to disarm a live munition. But the memory shifted. This time, he didn't fail. This time, someone else did. And the blast took 3 people. Varin stepped forward. No, that's not what happened. But the scene played again. Same voices, same ending. Each time, he was the one who survived. Each time, more of them died. His slate activated on its own. New log, Varin Alt, log 223. Survival, instinct, evaluation, successful. He threw the slate against the wall. It vanished mid-flight. Next room, inside an interrogation cell. He was seated, shackled. Across from him, an officer, faceless, shrouded in Vox distortion. "What did you tell them?" the officer asked. Varin shook his head. Nothing. I didn't tell them anything. The officer pressed a button. A screen blinked to life. His own face recorded, speaking, giving names, protocols, orders. That's not me, he whispered, but it was. The tone, the gestures, the same guilt in his eyes. His head throbbed, a bleed across his vision, two timelines fighting for dominance. His hands began shaking. He tried to recall the names of his team. Reserve, Urix, Dren. But his mind replaced them. Veren, Ulix. Droll, slightly off, slightly wrong, but emotionally correct. The ship had rewritten the memory, and now his brain couldn't tell the difference. I thought I'd held on to who I was, but I can feel pieces falling off me. Not physically, not even spiritually. It's like watching ink bleed through wet parchment. You see the shape changing, but you can't remember what it was before. He found someone slumped against the wall. A uniform, face obscured by a rebreather mask. The man looked up. Cole, Varin froze. It was his voice. The man stood, slowly, painfully. He pulled off his helmet. It was Varin, but older, eyes haunted, skin scarred. Which run is this? The older one asked. 30? 31? Varin whispered. I don't know. The older self didn't reply. He just placed a chip in Varin's hand. If you want to remember who you were, plug it in. If you want to forget, walk away. He stared at the chip, a simple interface node. His slate, newly restored, blinked. Memory core access, initiate. He hesitated. His hands trembled. Then, he inserted the chip. Every memory at once. Childhood, training, first kill, last words to his father, moments from lives he had never lived, a wedding, a betrayal, a child's laugh, a battlefield with 3 sons. He collapsed, gasping, blood from his nose, hands twitching. His slate logged automatically. Varin, memory bleed, stage 2, 91%, identity integrity, then overwriting baseline profile. He screamed through the vox. You were never one. You were always many. The bleed is your reward. Not all ghosts are dead. Some are just misremembered. Varin stood, barely. He didn't know his name, but he remembered pain. And the ship, remember all of him, even the parts that had never existed. The walls expanded when I breathed. The floor creaked with every step. Not like metal, like bones. This ship doesn't house something alive. It is what's alive. Recovered slate from the outer Vox chamber, scribbled by an unknown hand. The pain in Varin's skull had settled into a slow, thudding rhythm, like an ancient bell tolling from deep within the ship. He didn't know how long he'd walked since the memory chip. Time had dissolved into texture. Every surface, every wall, every step felt different now. The ship no longer mimicked steel. It mimicked flesh. He passed his hand along a corridor wall. It was soft, not spongy, not wet, just yielding and warm, like skin. And when he stepped too hard, the floor twitched. Temperature. Fluctuating by heartbeat, air composition, enriched with protein particulates, gravity, increasingly inconsistent in pulse-like rhythms, ship frame integrity, unmeasurable, no longer mechanical. Lumen strips are now embedded under the skin, and worst of all, the walls were breathing. Urix or Rennick had left something behind, a data slate half melted, voice record intact. At first I thought it was the vents, air pressure shifting, but it's not. The walls expand and contract when you breathe. They match your rhythm, until they don't. Then they start breathing without you, and you start breathing with them. Varin stepped into a chamber that felt familiar. He recognized it. Not from plans, but from instinct, the engine room. But instead of turbines and cables, it was lined with rib-like arches. The central plasma column now resembled a spine, vibrating softly. The conduits pulsed like veins, and beneath the deck, grating, something shifted. He knelt, peering through the slots. Below, nestled in the dark, was a face, eyes closed, smiling. Not attached to a body, just resting, waiting. He turned and walked, slow, cautious. The floors bent beneath his boots, not like sagging steel, like muscle. Every step was felt, not metaphorically, literally. He stopped, listened, and beneath him, chewing, software wet, grinding, as if the floor was digesting something. Someone, he whispered. Who did you eat? The floor vibrated in response, and then he heard a voice from inside the metal. Rez, still here, still whole, not mine, not yours. Still hungry. Panicked, Varen turned, tried to run back the way he came. The floor rose, literally rose, slid upward like a wave, knocking him off balance. He hit the ground, hard. The wall to his left opened. Not with a door. It peeled, flesh parting into a tunnel, dark, pulsing, dripping something red and clear. A heartbeat echoed from within. Batham, Batham. He crawled toward it, and the floor pulled him, like a conveyor belt made of tendons. He screamed aloud, trying to name himself. Culverine, Ensign, Serial 88 VOX, stop. The floor paused, a moment of hesitation. Then it hissed, a low, wet hiss from 100 tiny mouths below. The tunnel walls whispered, Whoa, you said that name yesterday. You wore that name last time. Why lie again? His mind snapped, a vision surged. Trooper Elson pinned under a collapsed corridor, screaming, begging. His legs were devoured, not bitten, absorbed. The ship pulled him down slowly, whispering, You belong here. You're meat now. Then silence, then bones, then nothing. Varen clawed his way back to the center. The plasma core, the spine, was humming louder now. He felt it in his teeth. A low-frequency sound that vibrated with his memories. Every echo in the room was a past mistake. The time he froze in battle, the time he lied on his report, the name he forgot, the friend he left behind. And each vibration made the walls pulse. This wasn't an engine. It was a conscience, not his. The ship's, and it was remembering everything. The floorvox crackled, Urix's voice, distorted. If you're hearing this, Varen, then you've reached the feed chamber. You're not standing on a floor. You're standing on the nervous system. The ship isn't powered by plasma anymore. It's powered by memory. Every step you take feeds it. Every fear you feel seasons the meat. You are walking through a brain that doesn't remember where it ends. Then silence. Varen ran. The floor gave way. He fell, not far, not deep, but into something that caught him. Software, wet, moving. It wrapped around him like a mother's embrace, and a voice whispered from the walls. You're inside the belly now. Rest. Let us wear your face a little longer. He stopped struggling. The air around him matched his lungs. He realized he wasn't breathing on the ship anymore. He was breathing with it. Every inhale shared, every exhale merged, and something shifted behind his eyes. Not blindness, a third layer, a second viewpoint. He saw a version of himself outside this body, walking, laughing, smiling. And he wasn't in control anymore. Somewhere distant, far from the belly, a new figure emerged from a sealed room, wearing Varen's uniform, wearing his face, smiling. And behind it, the walls exhaled like lungs finally full. I saw myself walking toward me, same armor, same face, same limp, but I hadn't turned that corner yet. I was watching myself from the future, or someone pretending to be me better than I ever was. Ensign Cole Varen, terminal entry 001, date corrupted. The breath of the ship grew shallower now, not gone. Just slower, controlled, content, like something that had eaten well and now wanted to digest. Varen didn't remember crawling out of the place, beneath the deck, the hungry space, the pulsing corridors. He simply found himself standing again, alone, but not quite, because someone was coming down the hallway toward him. Heavy boots, same tread pattern, same posture, and when the figure stepped into the half-light, Varen froze. It was him, armor, Ensign Cole Varen, standard recon plate, serial code, match facial structure, identical movement signature, predictive. But something was wrong. This second Varen was calmer, eyes forward, no confusion. He looked as if he belonged here, as if he'd never been surprised. He stopped 3 meters away, tilted his head, and said, "Took you long enough." Varen raised his weapon. What are you? The second Varen didn't flinch. I'm your replacement, or maybe your rehearsal. Depends on whether you survive this loop. Varen circled him slowly. No seams, no errors in his armor, no voice modulation. Perfect. You're a clone, the second Varen chuckled. Then why do I remember your dreams? Suddenly, both Varens spoke at once. I remember the drop on Selen's cradle. I remember the sand in my teeth. I remember the scream in my headset that never came from my squad. They both stopped. Varen gasped. He hadn't meant to say that. It just came out. The memory hadn't been his, not until just now. But the other Varen knew it too. And now, they both did. Urix's old slate, still slung on Varen's side, activated with no input. Warning. Identity loop detected. The system has detected recursive memory patterns between user Varen and user Varen 2. Memory bleed exceeds 74%. One subject must be suppressed. Varen stepped forward. You're not real, he said. The second Varen smiled wider. Of course I'm not. I'm more than real. I'm edited. He raised a hand, not in threat, in offer. You're tired. Let me take it from here. You failed 17 times. I've only failed 3. Varen stepped back. I don't remember failing. Exactly. The hallway bent around them. Literally. The walls curled upward, like petals closing over a flower. Lights narrowed to a spotlight. Somewhere far off, a Vox channel played a heartbeat. One of them had to end, or merge. Original Varen. I'm not giving you my name. Second Varen. You already did. You just forgot. Everything you forgot, I remembered. Every log you erased, I rewrote. Every breath you wasted, I made useful. This ship doesn't want explorers. It wants roles, and I've played yours longer. The second Varen stepped forward, touching Varen's forehead. A jolt ran through both. Their minds collided. 2 sets of memories fighting for room. Varen saw flashes, a version of himself dying alone in a vent shaft. Another cackling made inside a reactor core. One still standing on the outside of the ship, screaming to be let in. Too many lives, too many himself. And through them all, the second Varen whispered, I've survived more endings than you've seen beginnings. Varen screamed, but not in pain, in clarity, and shoved back with all his will. You're just a copy. The other Varen's smile cracked, literally. His face split down the middle. A seam, beneath it nothing, just mirrored black skin, no eyes, no mouth. The voice still echoed. Then why do you hurt when I'm cut? Varen raised the last pistol again. I'm tired of second guesses. He fired. Point blank. The round hit the center of the second Varen's chest, and the figure didn't fall. It unfolded, like wet paper collapsing into ink. One moment, a man. The next, a puddle that hissed like it was disappointed and was gone. Varen's slate flashed. Varen. Loop continuity. Retained secondary identity. Rejected. Good choice. Next trial begins shortly. Varen whispered into the stillness. There's more. And the Vox, gentle now, replied. Of course, there's always another you. We never set a timer. There wasn't one when we docked, but now every wall has a clock. Every second that ticks down feels like another piece of me is being peeled away. Log fragment recovered from the chest cavity of deceased crew. Proxy. Tick, tick, tick. Varen heard it before he saw it. A soft metronome-like sound, no louder than a footstep, but unmistakably mechanical, deliberate. He turned a corner, expecting another corridor of pulsing walls and whispering vents. Instead, he found a hallway that looked clean, sterile. Steel panels, fluorescent lumen strips, smooth deck, normal, too normal. And at the end of it is a screen. No map, no message, just a number, 002317, counting down. No source, no visible mechanism, no control console. The screen was embedded into the wall, grown into it. He reached for Urix's slate, still partially functional. The countdown wasn't registered anywhere, not in the ship's systems, not on the Vox logs. Not even on the ship's time registry. Only Varen could see it, or rather, only this version of Varen. His slate pinged. A new log had written itself. Varen active, loop 17, Countdown trial initiated. Trial begins when awareness is confirmed. Trial ends at 0. Failure equals overwrite. He whispered, trial of what? No answer, just a tick, and the time dropped to 00:22:31. As he walked the corridor, it began to subtly fracture, not physically, visually. The corners warped slightly. The lumen strips began to loop, repeating their own glow patterns in reverse. A panel on the wall showed his reflection. But it was delayed by 4 seconds. He waved. 4 seconds later, the reflection waved back, smiling. The walls opened on their own, not slid, unfolded, like pages in a book. 3 doors now faced him. No labels, no sounds. The timer dropped. 00:1954. He stepped into the first. Inside, a steel desk, 2 chairs, a single lumen overhead, and across from him, an inquisitor, robed, imposing, no face, just a black helm. Name? Varyn hesitated. Cole Varyn. Occupation? Imperial Guard Recon. Last mission? Aegis Lament recovery. The Inquisitor leaned forward. Incorrect. That mission was 282 years ago. Varyn blinked. The timer on the desk ticked down. 00:17:3. Wrong answers collapse the self, the Inquisitor said, then vanished. He walked into the second room. It was another hallway. He began walking, 30 meters, 50, 200, but the distance counter on the wall never changed, and the screen at the end always reads, "You've made no progress," and the timer dropped. 00:14:42. He turned back. The start was gone. He tried to speak, but the words came out wrong, jumbled, mirrored, spoken backwards. He opened his mouth to say, "I am Varyn." It came out as Nirav Ma I. And the hallway responded with laughter, hundreds of overlapping versions of his own voice. Tick, 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 00:12:29. The final room, empty, circular, mirrors on every surface. He saw himself hundreds of times. Each reflection is different, some older, some burned. One holding a child, one weeping, one missing its face. It turned toward him, raised a hand, wrote something in blood across the mirror. "You end here." The timer dropped. 00:09:54. Alarms sounded, but they were inside his head. Pain spiked behind his eyes. The walls of the room began to ripple. Each reflection turned to stare at him and whispered in unison, "We were the trials. You are the judgment." He tried to run. The floor slid forward like a treadmill. He screamed. His slate blinked. Error. Varyn's profile cannot stabilize. Identity threshold collapsing. Autoload. Replacement candidate. Timer hit. 00:11:00:0045:00:022. He dropped the slate, stood still, closed his eyes and whispered, "I won't move anymore. I won't run. You want something from me, but I won't play." The ticking stopped. Just above silence, the Vox whispered, "He's learning." The timer disappeared. The walls relaxed, and in the mirror, his reflection smiled, not cruelly, just knowingly. "Good," it said. "Now we begin." The hallway went on for kilometers. I measured it, marked it, screamed down it, but the end never came. And the farther I walked, the less I remembered why I started. Ensign Varyn, distorted log loop, entry 72. He'd stopped checking his slate. What was the point? Time no longer moved. And the ship had lost its shape. There were no doors anymore, just hallways, endless, long, wrong, and the silence, deafening. Not because there were no sounds, but because the sounds had nowhere to echo. Varyn had passed the same pipe 16 times, he was sure of it, except each time the graffiti was different. "You started here, still walking. This corridor wrote itself. We all end here eventually. One of your bodies is already ahead of you. The hallway isn't looping, you are." Step count, 7,418. Distance covered, 0.0 kilometers. Map overlay, no path deviation direction, undefined. The tracker insisted he had not moved, but his legs ached, his mouth was dry, and up ahead, always just ahead, was a red light. A door, but it never got closer. He heard footsteps, not behind him, ahead, then breathing, then his own voice. "You still think you're walking forward?" He froze. You stopped 30 minutes ago. The voice matched him. Tone, cadence, pain, and then laughter. The lights above flickered, but in reverse. Back to front, the shadows fell the wrong way, and the floor shimmered, showing reflections of corridors not yet entered. Every 10 meters, a mirror embedded in the wall began showing moments Varyn didn't remember living. One showed him bleeding out on the floor, another showed him strangling Urix, another showed him standing in this exact hallway, older, smiling. His slate blinked. Varyn Varek Var, who? It asked. Are you still you? He whispered. Yes, the slate replied. Try again. The sound of boots on metal filled the corridor, then the creak of a hatch opening. Then, welcome aboard, Ensign. You're late. He turned. No hatch, no voice, just a wall, and on it, we've been expecting you. He pulled out a utility knife and carved a line into the wall, walked 20 meters, turned back. The line was still ahead of him. Walked again, carved another. The wall now had 3 marks. He had only carved 2. He wasn't alone anymore. A shape walked beside him. Footsteps matched, breathing synced. He didn't look at it until it spoke. Why do you think you were sent here? He didn't answer. You wanted this. Curiosity is hunger with a different name. Varyn turned. It was him again, another version, but older, gaunt, eyes black and cracked, still walking. How many times? Varyn asked. Enough that you're not the first me to ask. How do I end it? The older Varyn shrugged. You don't. Then why do I keep walking? Because the hallway isn't trying to stop you. Then what? It's trying to become you. The wall ahead cracked, not from the explosion, not from force, from impossibility. It broke its own rules. A gap opened, within it, a black space deeper than void, a place outside of hallways, where walls weren't walls, and time was a suggestion. The older Varyn stopped. That's where you go when you give up. And if I don't, he smiled, then you keep walking and eventually you arrive. He approached the crack, felt the pull of freedom, or extinction, or both. He looked back. The hallway behind him had sealed. There was only a forward, and the whisper said, pick a role, or you'll be written as undefined. He whispered back, I'm still me. The crack vanished. The hallway closed. The corridor shifted, and ahead, finally, impossibly, was a door. It blinked green, open, inviting, and beside it a screen read, Welcome, Ensign Cole Varyn, ready for your final loop. You think it's listening, recording, repeating, but that's not what the Vox does anymore. The Vox isn't receiving, it's feeding, and it only eats one thing, us. Recovered fragment from encrypted crew log, flagged for psychic contamination. The door hissed open, not mechanically, not hydraulically. It sighed, as if exhaling something it had held in too long. Beyond it, Varyn entered a chamber like nothing he had ever seen aboard the Aegis Lament. Not a bridge, not a medici wing, not even a void hold. This place was built around the Vox array, a cathedral of machinery, shaped not by design but by intent. Pipes formed rib cages, cables looped like bowing heads, and in the center, the Vox core, a pillar of dark crystal, wrapped in coils, alive, with flickering static, and it was humming. No, not humming, speaking. Varyn stepped closer. The static resolved. Varyn, 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 his name, but not said. It was played, as if someone had taken every time he'd spoken his name and stitched it into a loop. Each repetition was slightly more broken, slurred. Then, are you still yours? His legs froze, not from fear, from recognition. He'd said those words long ago to Urix. After the hatch is sealed, when the first hallucinations started, the Vox had recorded everything, not just sounds, moments. The room pulsed, the crystal glowed brighter, the cables began to twitch. A screen flickered to life beside the pillar. It displayed memory files indexed 13,482, voice samples 96 Varyn, 83%, emotional resonance satiated. Next phase, ingestion. He backed away. Too late. The walls were sealed, and the recordings began to play. One by one, moments of his life burst into being. His mother calls his name across a void port. His training sergeant screaming orders. Urix laughing in the mess. His own voice praying before a mission. Then sounds he never remembered, crying, begging, screaming that wasn't his but was spoken in his voice. It wasn't a replay, it was a feast. The Vox was feeding on his identity. The crystal pulsed, the hum surged. Varen's slate exploded in sparks. The connection overloaded. A tendril of light reached from the Vox into his chest, not physically, psychically, and he heard his own thoughts twisted. I never left the ship. I died already. This isn't a ship, it's a transmitter. We were always meant to become signal. He screamed, but no sound came out, only static. His scream became part of the recording. He fell to his knees. The floor beneath him rippled like liquid. He fell through it and landed in a memory, not his. A hallway, Urix running, blood on the walls. Behind him, Varen, except not Varen, something wearing his voice. He tried to call out. Urix didn't hear. The memory looped. Again, faster, louder, until everything collapsed into white noise. He woke, still in the chamber, or maybe inside the crystal. It didn't matter. A voice, the Vox's voice, now complete, spoke in perfect imitation of him. This is Ensign Cole Varen, last survivor of the Aegis Lament, initiating final report. The pillar glowed. A pulse spread through the ship. Somewhere deep in the metal, things shifted. Message ready for transmission. Would you like to add yourself to the signal? Varen stepped forward, bleeding from ears, eyes blurred, thoughts not his own. He placed one hand on the Vox core and whispered, "Play it back." The ship began to hum in harmony, and the signal grew stronger. I checked the footage. I was on the lower decks, alone, but in the feed from the engine gallery, I was there too, standing still, watching, smiling. I don't remember being there, but the reflection, it waved at me. Final message from Tech Adept Fraun. Recovered from inside a sealed cogitator terminal. They found the surveillance terminal still humming. No lights, no power, but the machine was awake. Varen watched as the old cogitator buzzed to life, the screen flickering with pixel-burned footage, looping over and over. At first, it showed nothing. Then it showed too much. Varen stood in the lower decks, timestamp 0043. Then, on a separate feed, he stood in the engine gallery. Same timestamp, but he had never gone there. His breathing slowed. He rewound. There, himself, still, silent, just standing in the frame, watching, face perfectly lit, eyes directly into the camera, smiling. Urix appeared in the mess hall feed. Then again, same moment, on deck 3, near the primary Vox array. No mistake, same limp, same shoulder scar, but in the mess hall, he was laughing. And on deck 3, he was staring into a mirror, not moving, just watching himself. And then, he vanished, not walked away, just blinked out, like he'd never been there. A side screen blinked red. Mirror protocol, inactive warning, psycho-reflective anomaly detected. Varen tapped the display. The terminal resisted and then showed a list of prior activations. M37.214, failed memory loop containment. M38.009, identity echo breach. M41.295, Vox collapse. Event M42.001, Aegis Lament return current, and below it, crew count, 0 reflection, count, 09. Suddenly, a new feed opened. No timestamp, no label. It showed a room Varen had never entered, and in it, 9 figures, identical, all wearing his face. Each one turned perfectly in sync. Each one raised a hand, waved. Then one stepped forward, pressed its hand to the lens and said, "You're the last one left, Varen." He backed away from the terminal. He felt a chill, not cold. Recognition, like a mirror was behind him, and he didn't remember putting one there. He whispered, "That's not me." But something inside replied, "It remembers being you." The Vox crackled overhead. "I'm Varen, I'm Varen, I'm Varen." A chorus, not in unison, in competition, each voice trying to outmatch the others. Same tone, slightly different words. And one of them was crying. Varen's slate buzzed. A file appeared. Urix, last log, mirror room. The audio was damaged, but some words were clear. I saw myself. It was cleaner, calmer. It looked like what I should have been. I asked it who it was. It said, "I'm the version that deserved to live." And then it walked into me, not like a body, like a shadow, rejoining its source. I don't remember what happened next, but I woke up somewhere else, wearing a new name. Varin turned to leave. The hallway was full of mirrors. None of them had been there before. He walked past one. It showed him, but older, eyes milky, mouth sewn shut. The reflection raised a hand and traced a word in the fog across the glass. Replaceable. He didn't blink, just walked, and in every mirror. His reflection stayed behind, staring, even after he was gone. They say the worst thing is dying. It's not. It's forgetting who you are before you're dead, and then begging someone else to remember you for a name you don't even recognize anymore. Fragment from unauthorized data slate transcript, source unknown. Varin found Urix curled beneath a broken Medicaid console. He was mumbling, not words, a name, over and over. Thalen, Thalen, Thalen. Varin touched his shoulder. Urix jerked back, staring at him with wild, unfamiliar eyes. Who? Who are you? Varin hesitated. It's me. Varin. Urix shook his head. Number, that's wrong. You're not. Varin died. I remember. I was there. And Thalen. He was supposed to survive, not me. I don't know what's happening anymore. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see someone I almost remember, like a childhood friend or a name I read in a prayer book. But it's not me, and every hour, more of me disappears. If someone finds this, please, just remember me. Say my name. I think that's the only thing keeping me whole. The walls flickered. Images began to bleed into them. Not picture screens, not cameras. Memories, projected like echoes. Urix's childhood, a mining colony, sky full of rust. Varin's first medal ceremony, except the face on the podium, wasn't his. A funeral, a closed casket, Urix standing at attention, a voice saying goodbye, but in Varin's voice to a woman he's never met. The date slate beeped. Its registry displayed the crew manifests. Names began to vanish, one by one, then reappear, swapped. Urix, Thalen, empty. Varin tapped his name. It blinked. No user found. Error. Self-recognition protocol corrupted. He whispered, I'm Varin. The Vox replied, say it louder, while you still believe it. Urix sobbed into his hands. His voice faded, cracked, changed. At first, it was his voice, then someone else's, then no one's. When he looked up, his eyes were blank. No recognition, no fear, no self. Why are you crying? He asked. I'm not gone. He stood up, stiff, his gait wrong, as if remembering how to walk. Varin backed away. Urix? Who? The Vox clicked on. A whisper bled through the walls. Please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me. A mantra, a cry, but also a trap. Each time the phrase repeated, Varin's own memories shifted. He couldn't recall his mother's name, couldn't recall what regiment he served with. Couldn't remember if Urix had always looked like that. Varin tried to write something, anything, a name, his own story, what happened yesterday. Nothing came. Even the letters felt wrong, slippery. He carved a message on the wall with his boot knife. My name is Varin. Don't forget. Please. But the moment he stepped away, it blurred, melted. The walls swallowed it. He walked, not sure for how long. Then he found a room he didn't remember entering. Someone stood there. Another crewman. They turned slowly, wore a name badge. Thalen. Varin recognized the face because he'd seen it in a mirror, and Thalen smiled. You remembered me. Now I can rest. Then he collapsed into dust. Gone. I asked it to open a door, and it did, but not because I had clearance. It said my name. It thanked me. It told me things I hadn't remembered yet. The Aegis Lament doesn't have a machine spirit. It has a memory, and now it's using mine. Vox log fragment, Ensign Varin, timestamp corrupted. Varine stood before a sealed bulkhead. He didn't have the key, he didn't know the code, but something inside him whispered the right phrase. Open for Varine. The door hissed wide. No mechanical sequence, no servos, just obedience. The ship listened, not with systems, with recognition. The chamber inside was grand, too large to be real. Walls made of cogitator glass, ceiling like the surface of a dead sun. And in the center, a throne of black alloy and neural nodes, empty, but waiting. Screens lined the room, thousands of them, each one flickered with faces, crewmen, past and present, laughing, bleeding, dying, singing. And Varine saw himself on everyone. A voice spoke, not aloud, not through the vox, through the floor, through the metal, through memory. Welcome, Cole Varine, you've returned. He whispered, returned. You were always here. You simply forgot. Screen shifted. Images of Varine as a child, in training, sleeping aboard the Aegis Lament years ago. Except, he never served here, did he? He tried to pull away. The ship continued speaking. You were born here. You died here. You came again. Each time you give us more. Each time we remember you better. A screen blinked. Version 17. Memory stability, 82%. He saw versions of himself. Each one died in different ways. Some tried to escape. Some joined the crew. Some sat on the throne and became signal. He faced the nearest console, said a single word, lights. All decks lit up. Then, manifest. A full crew list scrolled. Thousands of names. Most are listed as remembered, others forgotten. One, becoming. It was his. Walls pulsed, pipes reformed, corrupted passageways straightened. The ship was fixing itself, not by repair, by memory. It wasn't rebuilding its structure. It was rebuilding its idea of what it used to be. And Varine was helping by existing. I walked into a room that wasn't there yesterday. My name was on the door. Inside were all my belongings from childhood. Some I hadn't thought of in years. Some I had never owned, but remembered having. The ship builds from memory, but not just our memories, the ones it collects, the ones it invents. On the throne console, a message appeared. Would you like to remember more? Below it, yes, no, already, remembering. Varine reached forward, then hesitated. He didn't know which version of him wanted to say yes, but the ship spoke again. We don't need your consent. You are part of us, and we remember everything. The screens blinked out, the lights dimmed, the walls sighed. Like lungs at rest, Varine sat on the throne, his voice quiet. If you remember me, then why am I still forgetting myself? No answer, only the hum and the sound of the ship breathing in. We weren't sent here. I know that now. The mission order was a memory, planted, echoed, played until it became real. We were never a rescue team. We were the next version, flight archive. The archive core groaned as Varine entered. Data walls blinked erratically, lines of script bleeding down cogitator panes like tears. He wasn't looking for records, he was looking for proof. Proof they were ever sent here, proof this wasn't madness, but the logs didn't match. He accessed the central slate. Mission Aegis Lament Recovery Operation 377 Omicron, but the file had no date, no official seal. The authorization codes were there, but hollow, no origin, no source, no signature. It read like something remembered not written. He pulled up the crew list, expected to see 6 names, saw only 2. Varine K. Urix T, all others, entry corrupted, unknown arrival method. A console chirped, playback began automatically. A hololithic briefing room shimmered into place. A voice spoke, command tone, high gothic, familiar. You are being sent to recover the Aegis Lament. Expect no resistance, simple breach and retrieval. Return within 72 hours. Varine felt his stomach twist, because the man speaking was him, but older, colder, eyes glazed with certainty. And when the image turned to leave the room, it flickered, revealing dozens of identical Varines seated in every chair, all staring. He accessed his implant logs. The records began mid-sentence, and boarding now. The ship looks quiet, feels too quiet. No transport logs, no launch sequence, no prep orders. It started on the ship. Varen backed away from the console, heart pounding. We didn't travel here, we were always here. Tucked behind an old rations bin was a cracked data slate, still active. A message blinked. If you find this, you aren't a rescue team. There was no distress call, no coordinates. The signal comes from inside. It finds minds and gives them reasons, dreams, missions, orders, names. You're not real. Not anymore. As he read, the lights shifted. Doors began to close behind him. A soft pulse echoed through the deck. A familiar voice whispered through the vox. Welcome back, Cole Varen. This time, you made it further. Ready to begin again? On the bridge, the manifest auto. Updated. Crew count. Version 31. Mission. Initial boarding status. Integration. Incomplete remaining. 1 original crew. 0. There was no original crew. There never had been. The Aegis Lament wasn't abandoned. It had never been crewed, only filled, repopulated, remembered. Varen stood in front of the view screen. Black void stretched forever outside. No stars, no destination, no escape. He opened a Vox channel, just to speak, just to say anything. His voice came out, but wrong, split, delayed, overlapping. This is Ensign Varen of the Aegis Lament. We are initiating another recovery. He dropped the mic. He wasn't recording. The ship was. It always had been. You start to notice the loop when the door closes the same way it did yesterday, when your boots leave prints already in the dust, when you find your own handwriting on a wall you've never seen. It began again. The ship flickered. The lights strobed once, soft, slow, almost welcoming, and Varen opened his eyes back at the airlock. Helmet in hand, boots are slightly damp, air dry, stale, and tasting of memory. His fingers twitched automatically. He had done this before. He walked without needing direction. Right turn, 2 bulkheads, storage room on the left, open, empty. He reached behind the ration bin, found the same slate, same message. If you find this, you aren't a rescue team. He didn't gasp this time, didn't panic, because he knew. He was in the loop again, but this time, he remembered. This is Cole Varen, again, loop 31. I don't know how many versions came before me. Some gave up, some joined the ship. One became the signal. I remember dying at least 3 times. I remember watching myself die even more. In the mess hall, Urix stood over a metal plate, unmoving. Varen approached carefully. You again, Urix said, not turning. Loop, at least you're 6th. You're getting faster. How many for you? Urix didn't answer. Instead, he turned. His face was wrong again, too smooth, too symmetrical. A version remembered, not grown. Varen looked away. The Aegis Lament is adapted now. It changed more fluidly. The corridors morphed with intent. A locker contained boots already sized for him. The bridge chair adjusted to his posture. The Vox whispered comfort. Welcome back, Cole. Loop 31 has high integrity, ready for memory stabilization. He said nothing. The ship replied anyway. Acknowledged, continuing loop. Every screen he passed blinked with the same phrase. Recover the crew, stabilize signal, complete yourself. He stopped, spoke aloud. What happens if I don't? For the first time, the screen glitched, then flashed red. Loop deviation risks total erasure. Varen smirked. Good. He wouldn't follow the script this time, wouldn't walk the bridge path, wouldn't check the mess hall again. Instead, he tore a hole through a vent with his knife, crawled into the dark, found a wall made of mirrors and teeth, and screamed his name into the dark. I am Cole Varen. The echo came back as 12 voices. Only one was his. His slate was recorded automatically. Loop 31, aware, breaking patterns, avoiding checkpoints, refusing to stabilize. I think the ship learns from each version, learns how to keep you docile, comfortable, convinced. But now I know, the only way out is to refuse the role. The walls shook, lights failed, a voice thundered from the Vox. Version 31. Deviant path initiated. Reintegrate, stabilize, return to the script. He laughed. No. He pulled his slate free and wiped his name. replaced it with one word: nobody. The ship moaned. A hum, low, hateful, shivered through the deck plates, chambers twisted, mirrors shattered, corridors bled static. The Aegis Lament screamed, not with sound, but with forgetting, like it didn't know how to contain something that refused to be defined. "You're erasing yourself," the ship warned. "You will be lost." Varin replied, "That's the point. To escape a prison built from your own memory, you must burn the blueprint, forget the floor plan, let go of the name you scream when you're afraid, because the ship remembers you too well, and it won't let go until you forget yourself." He sat in the dark, breathing slowly, slate in hand, knife on knee, no lights, no voices, only him, or what was left. He had stopped answering to Vara. He had stopped reading the ship's prompts. He had even stopped blinking at reflections. They didn't mimic him anymore. They watched. "My name is..." He paused, deleted it, started again. "I was someone. Now I am. Whatever's left once the name is gone." He scratched a message into the floor with his knife. "No names, no self, no loop." The ship fought back. The Vox began calling out to him. "Varin, come home. Thalen, don't leave us. Urix." The doors open. All the names he'd worn, all the lives he'd echoed. He shouted back, "I am none of them. I am no one." The Vox hissed, then replied, "Then you are ours." Around him, the ship moved. Shapes emerged from the walls. People, copies, some hunched, some grinning, all him. Versions, remnants, failures. They spoke at once. "You have to be something, or we can't hold you. You must be named. Please pick one of us." He refused. He climbed back to the bridge, accessed the throne. Trembling hands hovered over the memory interface. 3 options: blinked, restore, loop, reset, self-wipe. He chose none. Instead, he typed in a command manually: UNRECOGNIZEENTITY. The system stalled. Then the throne whispered, "You will vanish." He whispered back, "Good." The ship began to flicker, rooms destabilized, decks buckled, walls bled, flickering versions of memories. Childhoods never lived, lovers never kissed, deaths never happened. The ship wailed, not in pain, in loss. It couldn't remember him anymore, and it hated that. The Vox system detonated. Screens showed error upon error. One last time it pleaded, "We can rebuild you. We can give you purpose. Just choose a self." He walked away, slate in hand. No name is written on it, just a blank screen. And beneath it, escape through forgetting. He found Urix again. This version was hollow-eyed, quiet, spoke like someone who'd burned out their voice, screaming through a dream. "Did it work?" Urix asked. "Almost," he said. "Not yet." "You're almost gone," Urix said softly. "You'll stop being real soon." "I was never real," he answered. "Not while the ship remembered me." They nodded and parted ways, like strangers. He sat down in the dark, breathed, waited, and wrote, Loop 31. "Almost broken. I don't remember who I was. That's the first good sign. If you're reading this, let go of your name. The ship can't hold what it doesn't know. I thought if I forgot myself, I'd be free, but something else was listening in the silence I left behind. It wore my memory like skin. Now it speaks with every voice I ever used, and more. Detected. He had no name now, no face, if the reflections were honest. He couldn't remember how many loops he'd broken, how many selves he'd let die. He just knew it wasn't enough, because something had survived, and it was speaking, not through the Vox, not through the ship, but through him. He opened his mouth to say nothing, but the words came anyway, not his. He's listening again. This time we'll speak together. Say it in the right order. Say it with all mouths. He collapsed. His voice echoed once, twice. Then 6 versions of it were layered into one, like a choir of ruined memories. He stumbled down a corridor that hadn't existed before. A door opened without touching it. The room was circular, walls lined with mouths, dozens, all his. Some cracked, some bleeding, some were stitched shut. They whispered constantly, "We are you. We remember better. You gave us space when you forgot yourself. We are what's left." We are what was waiting, he scrawled in shaky glyphs. I am not speaking. It is using me. The ship remembers, but this thing collects. He tried to scream. Only a whisper came out, followed by 5 others, each saying something different, each his voice. The Vox core flared online. He hadn't touched it, didn't mean to, but it opened anyway. A signal went out, a transmission. Help us. We are still human. We are one. We are listening. We are the Aegis Lament. We are Cole Varin. We are not alone. The transmission didn't stop. It layered, voice after voice, mouth after mouth, until it sounded like a single voice spread across 100 throats. The ship moaned, decks buckled. The Vox core began to bleed. Cracks wept, black static. The signal was too loud, too many mouths, not enough soul. He couldn't tell what he was anymore. When he blinked, he saw others' memories. When he spoke, he heard other deaths. He touched his face. It wasn't his, or it was, but only one version of what he had been. He clutched the wall, staggered into darkness, and whispered, "Silence me." The mouths answered, "We can't. You're how we get out." He collapsed. His slate recorded one last entry, just a sound, like breath, echoing, too loud, too many times. Then, silence. But it was listening, and it was learning to speak again. We tracked the signal for weeks across the void. It shouldn't have existed. No source, no direction, just presence, like something whispering from nowhere. Then we saw it, a ship with no light, no wake, not even a shadow. It wasn't drifting, it was waiting, total silence. A new listening post, small, obscure, manned by 5 tech priests and 1 astropath nearing burnout. They weren't expecting anything. Dead sectors don't call back, but then they heard it. A pulse, not a distress call, not Imperial code. A whisper that bypassed encryption entirely. We are still here. The cogitator systems went haywire trying to chart its source. No trajectory, no mass signature, but visual confirmation arrived. A ship, large, gothic, derelict, paint stripped, symbols twisted, no name on the hull, except one of the Vox interpreters saw it burned into their screen. Aegis Lament, but it was reversed, as if the ship was looking back through them. They sent a standard skiff, 3 volunteers. They never returned, but their feeds remained active, broadcasting from inside the Lament, silent at first, then voice, a dozen at once, whispering, singing, some crying, some just breathing. The Lament appeared everywhere, all at once. Multiple auger relays across different sectors reported sightings, same coordinates, same timestamp, same message, still here, still us, still listening. The osteopath at 97 Gamma screamed mid-prayer, not from pain, but from recognition. They're in the space between, she said, not the warp, not real space, a pocket made of memory, built from what they forgot. She died with a smile. Her final words. They'll come for us too, because we remember them. The tech priests tried to shut down the listening equipment, but the receivers wouldn't power down. The signal kept strengthening, and on every screen, a face, not monstrous, just familiar, like someone you passed in a hallway and forgot to greet. Then another face, then another and another, until the screens were full, all speaking in one voice. We remember you. The Lament drifted from Argosite. No trail, no transponder, no warp residue. It didn't leave. It was simply no longer there, not gone, just between. And the signal kept broadcasting, to no one, to everyone, to you. The transmission isn't a warning. It's a door. You don't listen to it. You open to it. And once it hears you, it remembers. This is the Aegis Lament. Do you hear us? The voice is calm, not urgent, not afraid, just present. It doesn't belong to a man or a woman. It belongs to someone you almost knew, a teacher, a stranger, a version of yourself. We've been drifting through silence, through time, through memory. We were the crew. We were the recovery. We were the ones who sent the signal. Now we are the signal. Dozens of faces cycle across a cracked screen. Some are screaming, some whisper. Most are just waiting. They overlap, glitch, blend, until there's only one, yours. You can't outrun it. You've already heard us. That's enough. That's how it begins. Not static, not interference, just breathing. Close, intimate, like it's behind your eyes. A whisper follows. If you're hearing this, you're next. The vox dies. The room goes still. Your console flickers. The lights hum. The receiver auto-reboots. And from deep in the system core you hear, "Say your name." You don't. But the transmission says it for you. You've heard the signal. Now, it's inside you. If you made it to the end, you're already part of the memory. Subscribe to Voidborn Terrors to hear what happens when the next voice answers, because the next story could begin with yours. Don't forget who you are, or do. It might be the only way out.